Hi, Matt with Etrailer. If you find yourself going on a lot of vacations and you're finding that your 2023 Hyundai Santa Fe is running out of room in the back, or what's going to be more likely, you have some items that are extra long that you can't fit back there. Anything like ski carriers or a kayak, anything like that that you can't fit back here, then your next best option is going to be a roof rack. And the one we have today is going to be the Rhino-Rack RVP Roof Rack. So let's check it out. And really to help illustrate what I'm talking about, I got a ski carrier up here at the moment, and you can tell how long this ski is compared to our vehicle, and trying to get it in there is not going to be ideal. And on top of that, skis also have a lot of snow, dirt, anything like that. And so do kayaks. Kayaks have a lot of water on them. That's going to be some stuff you also don't want in your vehicle. Now this can also carry some roof boxes and baskets, and those are really nice too, but in most cases, I think this is going to be a great thing for you if you're looking for those things that can accommodate longer items. And another thing to know about this rack we have today, this is designed to work with a flush rail vehicle. The way you can tell you have a flush rail is if you can come over to your vehicle and grab onto this rail on the side, then you have a flush rail. Now the Santa Fe also comes as a naked roof option. And the difference there is you won't be able to grab onto your rail, it'll be naked up top. Now, if you also want to you want to just double check and be sure, you can plug in your vehicle's information into our fit guide to find the correct fit for you. This is going to be a great rack for you if you're looking for something that's going to look pretty OEM on top of your roof, just because we have that clean finish to the edge of our crossbars. And this is going to be something that pretty much lives on top of your roof. Now I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but all of that's going to be partly because of this design. And this design is actually going to be this crossbar that connects directly into our tower, and that's going to grab onto our fit kit. Let's take a closer look at the crossbar first. So we're going to have tapered ends on both sides. What this is doing is giving us more of a smooth ride overall, so wind's going to be able to flow over the top of this a bit easier and help reduce that whistling. Another thing that's going to help reduce whistling is this weather strip up top. It's also going to keep debris from getting into this channel right here. We left this open just to give you an idea of what it looks like, because with this type, you actually have to cut these down to size to really work around with whatever gear you have. And then at the very end, at our towers, that's where we're going to connect to. This is all going to be connected through a bolt that really cinches down our crossbar to our tower. And really get a better look at how the tower works, I'm going to take off our end cap. This is what is going to look like underneath that end cap, and actually I like this design for how simple it is. A lot of roof racks can have maybe 2 or 3 bolts you have to tighten into place, and some other levers that go along with them. This is straight to the point. All it is just this bolt that's going in and connecting to our fit kit, and that's connecting to our flush rails. So everything's cinched down together. And it's nice to have an end cap that locks too, because we just have that extra security, so you don't have to worry about anyone coming by and taking off your roof rack. And then underneath that, this fit kit is really giving us a clean look overall. We just got these 2 plastic pieces that adapt into each other, and then this rubber pad at the bottom so we don't scratch anything up. But let's get a few measurements to see how this is going to live up here. So the first measurement I want to get is going to be the total distance underneath the crossbar, and that's going to be just about 3 inches. So you're going to have plenty of space to put on any clamp-on accessories. Now, some situations to think about is if you have a vehicle that has a sunroof on it and you have some really bulky clamps, you might run into some fitment issues, or if you're trying to tighten something down, that could be difficult. Or if that sunroof expands pretty high, it could make contact. It's just something to really watch out for. And then our next one we're going to get is the total height it adds to your vehicle. So I'm going to go from our flush rail to the top of our crossbar. That's going to be around 3 inches, which actually doesn't stick up very high. But what I would recommend doing is taking the total height of your vehicle plus your crossbars, and anything on top of that so you know what areas you can make it under. And really another measurement we can get is going to be our crossbar spread. And that's important to know so you know what gear is going to be able to work with this. Because this is a fixed mounting system, so we're going to have 2 set points that can't be adjusted. And that measurement is just going to be from our front crossbar, or the front of our front crossbar, to the front of our rear crossbar, and that's going to be about 28 inches. So that should work with most gear. In my opinion, I think this is a pretty clean looking roof rack, especially like how we don't have any overhang. It looks pretty OEM like I was saying earlier. Now there are a couple drawbacks. One, we don't have that overhang, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to put those ski carriers up here or really access your skis or anything else like that. And the big one for me was just the installation. Just how those bolts line up with our flush rails is going to be a tight fit since all of this just kind of plugs into each other. I actually had to pull on the crossbars a bit just to get everything lined up, and even then it was kind of a struggle. If you're looking for something to kind of help with that, something that's not going to live up here full time, you're going to be taking it on and off for your trips, then I'd recommend the other Rhino Rack Roof Rack, because that's going to have some overhang, so you'll be able to put your ski carriers at the very edge so you can access those skis a bit easier, and the installation is just a bit easier too. But if this is something that's going to live on top of your roof and you want that clean look, then it's probably going to be one of your best options. Now, if you are curious to see what that installation looks like, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through it. To start off the installation, we're going to lay everything out. So closest to me, we're going to have the crossbar itself. Next to that, I'm going to have the towers and their end caps and the keys to them. And then we're going to have some hardware to install them to our roof. And here off to the side, we're going to have some tools that I recommend grabbing. So those are going to be some painter's tape or some masking tape, some type of pin or pry tool. I recommend investing in one of these because it's going to make this process a lot easier. We're going to have a 10mm socket and wrench and a Phillips screwdriver. We're going to start by installing our towers to our crossbar. And to do that, we're going to have to remove this end cap. With that removed, all I have to do is flip this around. We're going to have this section that's a little bit more narrow than the back of our tower. And we're just going to push that into our crossbar just by wiggling it around a bit until it's in there completely. Then we'll get to this point. Now I already installed my weather strip, and that's really easy. All you have to do is put it in from one side, apply pressure, and squeeze it on. But for the time being, I want to get that out of our way because it's going to be a hole right in there. I want to try to line everything up as much as possible. Then I'm going to grab one of these screws, roughly place it there, and then tighten it down. I'm going to use my Phillips screwdriver. Once you have this completed on one side, you can repeat it on your other side. And with our crossbars ready, we can start prepping our roof. And to do that, you're going to need that painter's tape, or I just recommend the painter's tape so you don't scratch anything up. And then you're going to need this pin. And I've already taped off the location I need. You can actually find the locations that you'll need to use in your the instructions. But the spot I'm using is going to be this tab that's right next to the end of our front door. And I've used for the rear side the spot that's next to the end of our rear door. So keep that in mind. But right now we're starting with the front crossbar. And the way we want to do this is just to stick this pin in here, apply some pressure. Sometimes you might have to wiggle it around a bit. Now it's loose on one side. I'll just go into the other side. And this is why we need that painter's tape, or why I recommend it, because this is just alleviating any of the pressure the back of this is pushing against your flush rail so it doesn't scratch anything up. And now I can just pry this out, and once this is complete, you can repeat that process on your other side. Before we start putting our fit kit in place, I'm going to grab this nut. We're going to have this more cylinder side on the bottom and this more angled or rough edge side up top. We want to make sure the cylinder side is facing our rails, and it'll just go on top of this bolt. And we'll just tighten this down until it feels pretty tight. I also recommend just grabbing that 10mm socket and wrench and tightening it down a little bit more if you can. And now you can prep your fit kit. So I'll tell you the order that it goes in. So in the bottom, we're going to have this rubber pad. On top of that rubber pad, we're going to have this rounded plastic piece that will just align to the contours of that rubber pad. And then on top of that, you're going to have the fit kit piece that actually grabs on or connects to your tower. I'm just going to place that roughly on top. It should almost try to grab on. And what I think works best is have these tabs or these openings pointed towards the inside of your vehicle or the inside of your vehicle's roof. Now we might have to make some adjustments if it's fitting up there kind of weird. But after that, this will connect to your tower. If I actually go from this side to your tower, and then you're going to have this bolt. It's going to have your flat washer on the bottom and another washer beneath or on top of that. And that's what's going to grab onto your roof. So let's try that out now. Now I got our fit kit up there, and you just really have to line it up with the center where that bolt or that nut sticks up through. Once you've established that, I'm just going to step up in here. So this is just a bit easier for myself. And I'm just going to try to roughly place it on top of these two fit kits. You might need to make some adjustments, and that's fine. But once everything's kind of lining up, because sometimes you might have to push and pull on it a bit, because this is going to be a really tight fit. I'm going to grab that bolt now and run it through till it connects to the bottom. I'll try to hand tighten this at first. If I'm not really thinking I'm getting a good connection, I can just check underneath. It looks pretty good. And then I can grab my 10mm socket and wrench and tighten it the rest of the way. Another tip for you is I recommend before you fully tighten the driver's side or the passenger side, go to the other side and check your bolt to make sure it's going to pass through. Because earlier I was having issues with trying to cinch everything down. And we're just trying to check if it's going to connect and thread in place. And if it does start to thread in place, then you can start tightening both sides. I recommend just doing a little bit on one side and then going to the other side so you don't get any weird fitment issues. And if you're still having issues, I recommend trying to thread this bolt in first. Just kind of loosen up or break through anything. And now it's starting to work pretty well. Because earlier I was having issues trying to thread this in place, but now that I've put it on for the first time, we shouldn't have as many issues. Now after working with it for a bit, we're able to get it on. Now, if you haven't installed your other one, unfortunately, if you did have as much issues as I did, then you have to do that again yourself. But it's going to be the same process, and if you were able to figure it out on the front side, you can figure it out on the back side. Once that's all done, give it a good shake test. Make sure it feels pretty good, and if it does, you can put on your end caps. And then we'll come up here, just make sure we lock it into place, just so this is more secured. And then you can load it up with whatever gear you have and take it out for a ride. With that, let's just look at the installation and some of the features of the Rhino Rack RVP roof rack on top of our 2023 Hyundai Santa Fe. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.